I'll be teaching this week on my YouTube channel. I just want to talk about structuring cakes, which is incredibly important, and it's often something that's overlooked. Structuring your cake will normally mean how well you can execute a design, and also the last thing you want to do is send a cake out the door with somebody that they've paid a lot of money for and it collapses in a car or something happens to it. So it's well worth the time to spend it on the structuring and do it properly. This cake's sort of what I would call fairly simple to structure. What I've looked at with it is sort of this dead space down here. I want the wheels to overhang, so I don't want the cake just in one big block. So what I've done is I've estimated the space size that I have there, and I've just cut a block, just wrapped it in black vinyl, and that's what the cake will sit on. So I will attach that to my board. Just another word of advice, use big boards. I like to work in a bigger area. It gives it more stability to have that. And I also, if you can see, I also double board all of my boards, and they're actually screwed on. And the reason for that is when people go to pick up the cake, they don't have to try and wiggle their fingers underneath, and it also gives it a lot more stability as well. So back to the first, this is just to raise it up, and as I went through, we'll be moulding the wheels. So you really have to be careful about how high off the board you do raise it up, because you do want your wheels to sit in the sort of same position that they are here on the train. So with the next part, I'm going to build it just out a little bit. As you can see, we're going to have to use some structuring up in this part of the cake. So I've just used using this other board straight on top of that one, like that, and it just gives a little bit of overhanging space. This is just a normal board that you'd use between a cake. It's not normally my first option. I prefer about a 5mm thick cake board, like a proper cake board, and I'll cut it with a hacksaw. I just like it because it's the other 5mm, because it's stronger, but this is all I had, so I'm not going to go out and look for them today. I need to get this cake started. So what I will do is just attach that onto the top there. I'll let it dry. It's up to you, personal preference, what you use. I'll probably use hot glue with this one, or the wood glue you can use as well, which I don't really like. I don't trust it as much, but so anyway, I will attach that to the board, and tomorrow we'll get started on the sculpting and the structure of the rest of the cake. I also forgot to mention about structuring. This cake is for my son, so it's not leaving the house. So normally, if this cake was for a client, I would put a central dowel attached to the board all the way through. If you have a central dowel in your cakes, not very much can go wrong with them in transportation, or, you know, even if the cake tips on its side, it's highly unlikely that the cake would be damaged. If you don't have that center dowel, it's a lot more risky. So I think it's still worth the time to put one in. And with the next cake that I do, I will show everybody how I do a center dowel and structure cakes that way. So I'm about to pop some fondant into the mould. This is what I use. It's CMC, and that's just to harden the fondant. So I'll probably leave that in there for a little while to harden up, because this mould is not as flexible as I would have liked. Certainly not my first pick of moulding material, but it's all that I have. So I'm just going to have to use it. I'm just putting some corn flour in here, just so help it come out of the mould. can just brush that back off fondant when I'm done. I just add, let's just start kneading this. This satin ice, I never ever try and colour black fondant. I always buy black fondant. It's just not worth trying to colour, and I don't like airbrushing on it black either. So for parts like on this train, I've got no dramas just to grab some of this. So satin ice is not normally my first choice of icing. I find it a little bit soft for the climate that we live in here. So my icing of choice is Bakels. So I'm ready to press that in now. I'm overlapping a little bit here, but when I take it out of the mould, I would just cut whatever excess there off. Okay, so I might just pop that in the freezer for a minute, just to harden quicker. So I'm just having a look at this mould now, and it's just really quite difficult to get out, but yeah, there we go. Okay, so what I will do with this one now, that's out, I've just realised another part on the train, and this is what happens when you look at something and you think, oh, that's, you know, that'll be simple. You start to see all the detail involved in it. I've just realised there's sort of another spacing part here in from that piece, so I'll be making that as well. So I'll go ahead and trim that. I won't film it. It's not greatly exciting. So just get a little knife, trim it, and what I'll also do is I'll make some glue out of the CMC, and I will pop this over and I'll put my skewer in here so it's nice and hard and dry, ready for insertion into the cake when we're ready for that point. I might even pop another one up here, but I'll just play it by ear with that one. Okay, so I've moulded these parts, the sides of the train here. They didn't come out as good as I hoped, but anyway, they'll be fine. So as they're drying, what I've done just before I put them down to dry, I've gone in the back and just popped a hole, sort of a hole in the back with the skewer, because when I attach them to the train, I'll actually put a skewer in that hole and glue it in there, and have a long piece like that and stick it through just to stabilize it. And I did put another hole up here as well, and I've gone ahead and done all the wheels. I just sort of under a bit of time constraint with this cake. So what I've done with the wheels, that's them there. I've just molded them. These little parts in here, it's up to you whether you want to cut those little spokes out. I'm not going to do that because I think they're going to look just as good. You could either paint it black in there, or we'll figure that out when we get to the painting part. But what I've done again, just put a skewer in the wheel, so when I make the cake, I can touch it through, and it's got quite a lot of room there. So I'm just going to let those dry. I may reinforce it with a little bit of icing there. So that's that. Just attach those pieces together and let them dry. I have put corn flour on there, as I said before. I just had a bit of a mistake with the other one, so I've had to redo it. So what I do here now is just, I won't do it on the side because I'll mess up the icing, but what I do is just put it, stand the cone upright and just do a nice line around here, and then a nice line around where the bottom of it's going to go there. Today we're up to sculpting the cake. So I'm just going to go through, I've actually decided this cake is going somewhere in the car now, change of plans. So I felt a lot happier to structure it. I didn't film it because I did it last night. So I might do a separate tutorial on how to structure, but I basically have 4 dowels in through the board down in here just to hold this nice and stable. And then I've got these 2 here, they're front and back. I'll cut those off. I just used a 5mm wooden dowel, but I like to cover them with alfoil, seeing as there's cake going in there. Normally I'd work with clear acrylic dowels, but I don't have any at the moment. So that's the first thing we need. What I've done here is I've cut 2 structuring boards that will go into the cake. I probably only just need 2. And in between the layers I'll use skewers, which is what you will see. I've got 2 cakes here, 2 chocolate mud cakes here. I probably have way too much, but that's okay. My favourite tool, the Agbe there, I normally set it on a couple of inches. I like my cakes to have smaller layers, but then again it just depends on the sort of cake I'm doing as well. It's just sort of varies, and that's about all we need for now. I'm not going to talk too much through the carving process, so I'll just stop at any sort of important places. So let's get started. Okay, so last night I managed to get all the ganaching finished on the train. It took me about an hour. I didn't film it because it was late at night, or probably early in the morning would be more accurate. I've just gone around, it's nothing fancy, very simple. A separate tutorial again on ganaching because there's lots of little tricks that you can use to get it up nice, and you can see that's really firm and really smooth, which is just the way I like it. So I'm going to go ahead and cover the cake now. I'm going to do it sort of similar to the reference piece that we had. So all around the bottom I'm sort of covering this in separate pieces, not all in one go, which is normally how I prefer to cover my cakes. It just gives more control and I think a better look in the end. So I've got my black satin ice that'll go around the bottom. To attach the fondant, I like to use a mixture of, it's just strawberry jam and hot water, and I will drain that out and I'll make sure that's cool. And I've just got some bit of corn flour. I just use a ruler here to cut my icing. That's just a stainless ruler, can go in the dishwasher. And I've got my very good rolling pin here that I like to use. It's nice and heavy, so it's really good. Very expensive, but worth it. So I'm going to just, I'll pop the camera up and I'll just go ahead and cover that now.